Have you ever known that you need to make a big change in your life? One that will require you to maybe move and reinvent yourself in a brand new place. Ooh, scary, right? You're not alone. Today on Honestly, Dear Listener, we're talking to vocal coach Mogg Cathey of Evolve Vocal Studio about cultivating resilience after having to start over in our creative lives.
We're two childhood best friends talking about creative mindset.
I'm Emily Hatch.
And I'm Carrie Schaefer, and this is Honestly, Dear Listener.
Honestly, dear listener.
Woo!
A little bit about Amber. She is a voice teacher and coach, a vocal health specialist, and a vocalist herself. She's the founder of Evolve Vocal Studio, now based in Denver, after moving from Nashville, where she was Nashville Vocal Studio. Her clients have appeared on The Voice, American Idol, Nashville, and The X Factor, just to name a few. She coaches major and indie label recording artists, songwriters, stage performers, and karaoke and shower singing kings and queens. Please welcome our friend, Mogg Cathey.
So we were just talking earlier. I see Amber on social media, and then she sees our posts, and it's just so interesting that we live in a day and age where you can see a person all the time and not know them in real life, and that's just normal.
And feel like you do know them, though.
Like, but you do.
Just fully know them. Yeah, it's weird.
No, in my mind, we're all best friends.
Yes. Totally. Yes.
But yeah, it's true. And so, dear listeners, did you know that Amber is like basically TikTok and Instagram famous? So for good reason, because we're here with you, like the best vocal advice and the best presence to be listening to anything about singing that I see on social media, honestly. So we're so like,
nice.
We're very excited to have you here. Yes. And we all know each other. So Amber and I actually met in person for the first time after we've talked for 4 years online. We both are members of Vocology in Practice, which is a network of teachers that is worldwide, and I love them. We met there and then in person, just 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Which was crazy after that much time. So now we really actually know each other. And
I know.
I was like, you're almost 6 feet tall. I just didn't even. Isn't
you
that a strange thing?
I'm giant. Yes. Yeah. Almost 6 feet tall, which in my family is not all that tall. Like my dad is 6'6", my brother is 6'4", my husband is 6'2", which he was used to being large. And when I started dating him, I was like, come here, you little tiny thing. Which he,
I bet he loved that.
Yeah, he did. Men love that. And I'm joking. He's actually a big dude. So even though I am 5'11", he makes me feel.
Wow.
Nobody makes me feel petite, but petite-ish.
Uh-huh. So I'm 5'0". So if you and I got together in real life,
crack.
Yeah, you could just carry me around,
on
put
my
me
head.
in your bag.
Oh,
yeah.
Sounds like a little
I'll
puppy.
be your baby.
Yeah. I'd love it. Yeah.
Right.
Yay. Well, it sounds like we have a plan for our first hangout.
Excellent.
It used to, I will say, I know we're not here to talk about height, but as a young person, it really, if you look back at like every high school dance of mine, I was taller than every guy. So I was like slunched trying to make myself as small as possible, like genuinely shoulders rolled, trying to just thinking like, okay, let me try and sort of be their size, but I fully embrace it.
Yes,
shoulders back. That's right. I went to college and was like, there's other giants out there. And Midwestern, like corn and potatoes. There's lots of us. You know?
Yeah, girl. Yeah.
We're biggins. Awesome. Yeah.
No need to shrink yourself.
That's right.
Anymore.
No.
That's right. I've been telling myself that recently as well. But I'm not that tall. I'm only 5'5", but internally, I'm getting deep. I'm getting deep already. No need to shrink yourself.
Is it 5'5" is that's average height, right?
And I was 5'5" in like 9th grade though. So it felt weird. Carrie's always been a little gal, and they used to call us Mutt and Jeff in middle school, which no one knows what that is except for people that were raised by old parents that anyway,
Yeah.
like me. So yeah. Well, anyway, my amazing and tall friend, tell us about what's happening in your life. We realized like we all have something in common, which is we picked up our whole lives and moved to a new place. So
Recently.
tell us about what's happening.
Well, what's crazy is that we also realized, like, not only did we do that, but we all three of us kind of circularly moved. Like,
Yeah.
right. We either, I went to a place where you guys were, one of you went to a place where I was, I just missed, which is crazy. But yeah, so I lived in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm originally from like the Kansas City, Missouri area, went to college in Boston, lived in Florida for a while, was an entertainer at Disney. I bopped around, but I lived in Nashville, Tennessee for 24 years. And then this past July, my husband got a job offer that he couldn't say no to here in Denver, Colorado, which is where I am now. And we've been talking we love loads of stuff about Nashville, which Carrie, I know is where you are now.
Yes.
But yeah, we love so much there. Our best friends are there, obviously, having been there 24 years. At the time, I owned Nashville Vocal Studio. So kind of important that I was there. It had been Nashville Vocal Studio for over a decade, but we've been talking for, I think when COVID came and we had to move online, then I realized I think a lot, I'm not alone there. A lot of us realized, oh, you don't actually have to be in this one particular place.
Yeah.
We could, live X, Y, or Z and still do what we do. And Colorado was one of the places we love. Outside, we love the mountains. Miles, my husband, had lived here years ago. I grew up coming here with family in Estes. And we were actually just on vacation here in June with my whole family, just vacationing, having no clue that 2 months later we'd be moving here. So I digress, but he found out in July. And so we, in a place we'd lived 24 years, within a month, we had moved.
Yep.
Wow.
Only because I have 3 kids and my youngest was going into 2nd grade. And it was just that time of year where, if we didn't move that fast, he was going to have to start a school, transition to another school. And we just thought it's already such a huge transition. So, in 4 weeks, I also had gallbladder surgery during that time.
Gosh.
I had a weird, crazy, move. But so I've been in Denver since the end of August.
Wow.
That's great.
Yeah, rebranded the studio, all of that.
So what are you now? You were Nashville Vocal Studio, and what are you now?
We are Evolve Vocal Studio, which,
nice.
Yes, I thought, I know, cheese ball, but I've been thinking about changing the name actually prior to the move, only because when I founded Nashville Vocal Studio, the whole point was we are in Nashville and we work with Nashville artists. So I had a place in the Music Row area for 10 years and worked solely with Nashville vocal artists. And then again, I feel like so much, but COVID hit, things transitioned. We started stretching out and, once we were online working with people from all over. And after doing that a few years, I thought, well, I'm in Nashville, but Nashville Vocal Studio doesn't necessarily, even though I work with loads of Nashville artists still, represent all of our people. What about my folks other places that were just not including, but I couldn't find the right name. And when I landed on Evolve, I was like, that's literally what we've done as a studio, what I hope the singers that I work with do, and certainly what I'm doing as an individual. So I was like, we got a winner.
Right.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah. Isn't that so? I was Colorado Voice Studios.
I could have just taken over your.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And so that was actually part of my idea because I was like, okay, I had been Miss Emily's voice studio, and then I left from the theater I was teaching out of closed. So I'm like, Colorado Voice Studios, that sounds great. I'm going to move to New York in a few years. I want to build this up. I have enough students. I'm hiring teachers, and I'm going to have this so I can manage and own this studio when I move to New York and still be back and forth. And then that was 2019. And then I went from having a full studio with enough students to have a teacher and an assistant, and then hired another teacher. And then 2020 happened, and I had 5 hours a week for a while. And so I was like, well, cool, I guess that's not going to work. So moving to New York, I'm like, the gigging singer, that sounds good, because that's where my heart is trying to help, people who want to gig are gigging. So yeah, but it's like the rebrand is, and now I'm in, at this little city that I don't know if you've heard of it, New York. And
New York City,
New York City, the small,
New York
that little,
City.
just a little backwater.
paste picante sauce.
I went pay salsa, friends. I went pay salsa. That's
Nice.
right.
Yeah. And it's like getting into this new space. And like we had talked, Carrie and I were talking about, it's like there's a reinvention here, but it's really not a reinvention. It's like being more specific about what you're doing now that you've started over in a new place in a way. But you've been going super strong throughout this. So you're not starting over, or like, well, how do you feel about it? Does it feel like starting over since a lot of your people are online?
Yeah, well, so total aside, I love the gigging singer, by the way. That's certainly who I work with too. I always say active singers, or so people who either are actively singing or aspire to actively sing, but I love the name and I love the logo. So
thank you. My friend Becca that was on a couple of episodes ago did that logo.
Oh, is that the girl that also does the hot dog art?
Yes,
I'm a listener, so
yay.
Yeah. You know what? It's I'm like, how it's both. So it's very much a continuation of what I was doing. So I haven't stopped that. I truly, so I had surgery and just a number of just health junk. I feel like I moved to Colorado and it was like, get out for the first several months. And I was like, no, I'm not going anywhere. And all has worked itself out. But even with all of that, like I took off, we drove from Nashville to Colorado, which took 2 solid days with our 2 older kids are in college. So we had our, at the time, 7-year-old, our dog, and our cat.
Wow.
If anybody hasn't driven cross country with a cat, you have to have like a carrier with a litter box. You have to drug them. So she just like foamed at the mouth. Anyway, it was an ordeal. But all that to say, I took off less than a week to move and jumped as soon as we had internet. I was right back on and teaching. So in many ways, and I'm teaching a lot of the folks that I was teaching, I now have a few Denver people and am teaching them online, in person, which is really nice. And I still work with singers genuinely all over the world. So in that way, I'm doing the same thing in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, I don't know if you guys both feel this, but it's almost like what you said, Emily. I felt like with the move and over 20 years somewhere, and I'm in my 40s. And so I think it's just like maybe all of that lined up where I just thought, if I'm moving to this new place, I'm going to like focus on being, if it doesn't sound too cheesy, but it's true, like as authentically me, like I'm going to lean into it as possible. So really think about like, what do I really want to be doing? What do I really care about? And I did that before to a degree, but I also I started the studio and I loved it. And before I knew it, I was full. And like you said, Emily, I hired another teacher who's still with me, who I love to pieces. But it's like it just grew. And I wasn't like stopping and thinking about what is really aligned with who I am as a human being and what I want it just was kind of going. And in 2019, right before COVID, I had 4 teachers, an admin, and had an entire bottom floor of a great building on Music Row, which is awesome. And we were all just, slammed in people all the time. And then COVID came. I'm still paying for that great building on Music Row all these years later. And that was a time where I thought, okay, I love the people that I'm working with, but we'd kind of bloated to this degree where I don't work with beginners, not because I don't love them, but because you don't have to spend what I cost. And there's other great people out there who could help you. I don't want to work with a lot of kids. I love kids. I have 3 of them, but when kids want lessons, I want to be with my kids, so I had hired people. Okay, well, I've got a person that works with beginners. I've got a person that works with kids. And so I would look sometimes at our waiting room, and it was like, an adult professional singer with like a 9-year-old running around in a circle with and I thought, is this really this? We've kind of bloated a little bit to where it's not really the core of what we do as much anymore. So it was a great time to like reassess, and we moved from 5 of us to back to 2 of us. But yeah, I mean, I think that was a time, and this is another time for sure. And I'm still I just figure you're going to pick up and move in your 40s to a brand new place. Like, might as well not be somebody new, but be like as much you as possible.
It's so, when you're in your teens, when you're in your 20s, and maybe even into your 30s, I feel, at least this is what I did. I was so conscious of it. I wanted to be authentically myself, but I didn't know who that was. So in the absence of not knowing who I really was, or having a clear picture about that, I image crafted. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna and I'm gonna like all these things that were really not authentic to who I really am. Of course, I feel like your 30s and into your 40s is a time of being like, okay, strip out the bullshit. I don't want it. It feels lonely to be known for somebody that I'm not. So I don't want to do that anymore. And instead, I'm going to just push into being authentically myself. Like, that absolutely rings true to me. As you said that, it was like, oh, a breath of fresh air just like blew my hair back, because that's so true. It is rung true in my own life.
Yeah, certainly for me, even Emily, when you and I were talking, I was just saying, I have this feeling of like, well, and I know you guys talk about like how you're basically a commercial for therapy. And I feel like I am that person as well, because I'm like, have you tried therapy? Have you talked to someone? Have you, just in like the last year, have I finally delved into some of that? And it's more like so much of my life, like happy person, fortunate to do things that I loved, but also so much of it was like, what would make my parents happy? What would make these people happy? What looks good? Like, what should I do that looks good externally? And which sounds so sad now, but like, what makes me a good girl?
Yep.
You know what I mean? God, yeah.
And then I got to a point where I was like, I want to be a good person. I want to help people. That's the core of who I am. But also, like, if someone externally doesn't like it, tough shit. I mean, like, internally, I just was, when we were talking, I was like, I'm not going to do anything that makes me less me at this point. I guess that maybe I think this is my midlife crisis, but I'm like, if that's my midlife crisis, I'm cool with it. Like,
that's an amazing midlife crisis.
Yeah.
What about you, Emily?
I don't know. I'm still figuring it out, really. But I think, I feel like I might have mentioned this before, but I was told in our 30s that this was going to happen, that like in your 30s, you really start to get to know yourself. And I was just like 38 waiting. Like, what? And then I feel like 39 has brought, and I'll be 40 3 months from today, actually. Oh my God. Yes. But I think it's finally starting to hit me that like, I don't have to be anything but myself. Or like, I don't have to be what someone else wants me to be. I think, Carrie and I talk all the time about how the religious trauma has affected that. And it's hard to wade through. I'm like, why do I care what these people think? At the end of the day, I don't want to be them. I don't need them to be my friends. I don't even know if I like them. Why am I trying to impress these folks? And I think moving to a new place gives you the opportunity to just be like, this is it. Like, this is who I am. And if you don't like it, I suppose, girl, bye. Like, and in New York, it's easy to see, this sounds kind of terrible because I value others, but it's easy to physically see how many freaking people there are in the world. And if you're in this space, I know I just had this vision of like Times Square, and there's just all these people. And it's like, if half of these people don't like me,
right,
does it matter? There's so many more. So yeah, I guess that's a weird way to say it, but it's like, shoot your shot, figure your stuff out, right? And if people don't love it, then there will be others.
Yep.
There will be others.
That's right. Yeah. Well,
what
and
do you
it
think, Carrie?
also, moving for me clarified some things. It clarified friendships. It clarified, it gave me an opportunity to not, like we were saying, start over, because I wasn't starting over. I brought I'm a life coach as well. I brought my practice with me. As far as my clients knew, nothing had really changed. It was just that the background changed a little bit, which is great. That was very grounding, and I'm very grateful to have something kind of like what you were saying, Amber, of, it's grounding to have the same clients, something that is constant, but still everything around you has changed. That was very grounding for me. I white knuckled it all the way through, Kansas and Missouri on that steering wheel. I remember playing Pink's I Am Here. Have you all ever heard that song? I am here. It is so beautiful. And she has this line that says, I can make anywhere home. And I just held on to that so hard as a promise, because I didn't know, like, I have moved places, and it wasn't the place, it was the circumstance, but I have moved places where I crashed and I burned. And I ended up coming home, like less than a year later on my parents' couch, freaking out, being like, that was the worst mistake that I could have made. In retrospect, I'm like, no, girl, you learned a lot and you came out the other side. So use everything, but I was so scared of crashing and burning again. And I just, when I told myself, listen, it doesn't matter where you go, you bring your home with you, rather like a snail. I mean, and at the time I was reading a book about snails, which is weird too. And I was like, yes, I'm a snail. But truly, like, this shift from, so much of, it was life before COVID a lot too, where our lives were a lot smaller because, we have to be geographically based. But having this move opened my eyes to, like, actually, your home is so much bigger than you think it is. Your world, the world is your home if you take your home with you.
No, that's lovely. I like that.
I love that. Yeah.
I want a snail tattoo now.
Yeah, snails are so cool.
I love it. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That would be really cute.
Wouldn't it? I
honestly.
know. Yeah. Well, and I didn't think about you did the literal same drive as I did, Carrie.
Yeah.
We just swapped.
Just the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have a cat, do you?
I don't, because my
the
child
cat
is
was
allergic.
The one that was the most traumatized. Yeah.
Yeah. No, originally I'm from California, and I moved to Colorado, and I was in the back of my parents' truck. It was a covered situation. Like, I wasn't just like in the bed of a truck.
Bouncing around.
But, yeah. But I was in there without a seatbelt. This was the 90s, y'all. And I had my cat, and he was everywhere. So and we didn't drug him or anything because it was the 90s and we didn't know about these things. But yeah, so I get moving across the country with a cat, all that to say, to say that. So how
Smokey.
Yeah. Yes.
I remember him.
World's best cat.
Yeah. He used to talk back.
Yes.
I remember, I'm allergic to cats, so I was very rarely at the house, but I remember her asking a question, and Smokey would have like like yes meows and no meows.
Yep.
Our cat does that too. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
But the whole trip, it was like, why? Like, just, I mean, days. And then in the hotel all night. So we were just like, you're driving that long. And we're like, the kid was he was a trooper. The dog was fine, but the cat was in hell and brought the rest of us with her. Yes.
Yeah.
Her and her foamy mouth.
Exactly. Yes.
How did you do with the move emotionally? Because it's like, well, things aren't changing for me professionally a whole lot because I still have a lot of my clientele, but like it is upsetting. It's a huge change for humans to move from one place to another. So how did you handle that emotionally?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think I'm still handling it. To be totally honest, I've been here, 8 months?
Not very long.
No, not very long at all. Like I said, ours was a situation where, my husband had to make a change job-wise. So I think it was both of us, now talk about how we're so glad we're here. We really do love it. And like I said, this is a place where we would come vacation, and anytime we could get here, we would come out and get here. It's so beautiful. And I know people who grew up here, you might be like my cousins. I'm like, don't you every time you look at the mountains, that you just like the awe of nature? And he's like, I don't really notice them. I mean, he just grew up here. I'm hoping every time I turn the corner, I'm just like, I need to wipe a tear on just how beautiful it is. But
yes,
but it was a have to move. And I think, like he was saying, he was like, I think the move is so good. I'm so glad we did it. Just at the beginning, it was hard because it felt like it wasn't a choice. It was a have to. And I think there's a hard part with that. I do think, even though I'm so fortunate that my business has been able to just pretty much carry over, like you said, for a whole lot of my people, the only thing that's changed is the background looks a little different.
Yep.
But it has also felt, I felt more like fear and scarcity than I have in a really long time.
Damn you, scarcity. God, I hate that guy.
Right? I know, because I just, somewhere where you're, you know what it is? It's like, I'm sure you guys can both relate to this. It's the small stuff of like, not only business-wise, like I'm very established. I don't really, word of mouth gets me my people. If somebody needs a laryngologist, I'm like, oh, I have one I work with. Let me hook your speech language. But I have that. I have it. But it's also like, I have the lady who cuts my hair just how I like it. I have a dentist. I have the place where I know where the really yummy burritos are. And like, so small. But then you get here and you're like, where's the really yummy burrito place? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I just happen to have a bunch of massive health issues. Not that I'll spare everybody, but like 3 hospital stays for weeks long. The first 3 months I was here, I had like severe level C, which I didn't even know what that was before, but pancreatitis, where I was, just so sick. They thought something is majorly wrong with you. And that was my first several months here. That was September, October, November. It was all related to dumb gallstones, and I'm totally fine now. But like family flew out the last time because doctors were just like, we don't know what's wrong, but it's something really major. And I didn't have a doctor to call. So now I have a great doctor because I was so sick. That was one of the pluses. They were like, get this woman someone ASAP. And then my last day in November, my husband got COVID, staying with me at the hospital. He then gave it to me. My son got the flu. We'd never been sick in Colorado. So I just got out of the hospital and they were like, you got to really take it easy. 2 days later, I'm at the hospital with my son who needs oxygen and an IV, like fluids, just with the flu. I'd never seen him that sick before. And they were like, oh, that's just the altitude and his body's getting used to Colorado, and he was super sick. And then so at Thanksgiving, I had COVID and the flu.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So sorry.
Emotional. It was just wacky. And then since then,
welcome to Colorado.
I know. Like I said, I was like, Colorado was telling me like, go home, get out. So I went in December and taught for a day in Nashville and saw my people in person and saw my my best ladies and had a blast. And then I flew home to Colorado and bawled because I told my husband, I said, it's so weird because Nashville in so many ways feels like home. It's my people, not only just my clients, but my friends. I know where everything is. I think that it seems so small, but it's just like, I know where everything is. But I was like, but yet it doesn't feel like home. Because like you said, I take my home with me. So I'm like, well, my husband, my son, our girls are in college. So like my people and what feels like my cozy pants and everything, they're in Colorado.
Yeah.
So I told him, I was like, it was such a weird feeling because I was there and it felt like home, but not like home. And then I flew back into Denver and I'm like, oh, now I'm home, but not like home. It's this weird in between place. It feels so much more like home now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't even been here a full year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, doesn't it feel like, I don't know, I should myself real bad. It's like, I should feel more stable.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's been a year,
Yep.
almost. I should feel like, for me, I chose to move. I've been dreaming of New York City since I was 16 years old. I felt like I should be happier. Like that was because I did this on purpose and I've been waiting forever. But we moved and then I was basically not here till January. Then it was the middle of the winter and it is dark it is cold and there is not a sun to be seen. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Colorado is like, they say 300 days of sunshine. Not the case for New York. You guys might be surprised. I was like, oh, I didn't know that we had that seasonal affective disorder was going to affect me. And yeah. So I think it's a hard transition when even you're expecting that it's going to be like, I was like, New York's not going to solve all my problems, but I've been waiting for forever to be here. And I still was like, so I just sit in my apartment and I'm very sad. And then the cool thing too is now I go out and I have social anxiety. Really? Like me, the person who loves to talk to people, is over here like I grab a coffee and I'm like, what the heck?
That's not safe, Emily.
I know.
I want to mother you and be like, you will burn yourself, friend.
I know. We're going to go full McDonald's over here with the 90s references.
I was going to say, how many 90s references can we make?
That's been at least 3, at least.
It's making me feel more at home, y'all.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's so like, even the planned transition, all that can't really prepare you for what your heart's going to do in a new place. And creatively. That was a nice way to say it.
I like the emphasis.
Yes. Thank you very much.
So then, question, as 3 people who have experienced significant moves in the past couple of years, what if you could coach yourself through that move again, or maybe an artist who is thinking about moving, maybe out of some place that feels so familiar, but they know they have to go. They feel the pull of wherever they're going. What words do we have for those people?
When you were talking, Emily, I thought Carrie, I'm rolling with your snail analogy because I thought, isn't that
do it
kind of the same? It made me think of this. Isn't it Dr. Seuss? Wherever you go, there you are. Isn't that Dr. Seuss? Which just made me think, isn't that kind of like the snail analogy again of like, I can move to New York, I can move to Nashville, I can move to Denver, I can move to LA, I can move to London. But wherever I go, there I am. So my snail shell that's filled with my stuff, much of it conscious, much of it subconscious, unconscious, it's still going with me wherever I go. And when I think about talking to artists who are either making a physical move or making a genre move, or they've been musical theater and they're like, I don't really want to do this, I really want to put out my own album, I really want to my first thought is it all kind of comes back to what we were talking about, is if you are really tuned into your voice, literally and figuratively, right? Our voice in the big way, like who you are and how you feel and your voice mechanism. If you're really being authentic to who you are and you lean into that, I feel like that's kind of the recipe for success. Not saying the recipe is not going to be like, there's not going to be ingredients splattered all over the place. It's not going to be messy, but I still feel like that's the way to go.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys think, but
I love that.
If that made sense.
No, it totally makes sense. I think, to me, I put a lot of pressure, and I think I've talked about this before also, on myself to know me. Like, you know, a lot of people talk about you have to really know who you are. And I freak out when I think in those terms. But being like my home, being myself could be scary to me, because what if I don't know that, or I don't trust it? But I think I would coach past me to know that it's maybe sooner, that it's okay. And I think I had some of that consciousness. It's okay to be sad for a while, and it's okay to not immediately feel like you can just jump in. Sometimes you have to go into your shell for a little while and just like be in there and be like, it's okay. Because when I think about New York, I'm like, one of my missions being here is millions of us probably came here to sing or to perform. And then we're here doing stuff that's not that, and thinking, who am I? What am I going to do? I'm afraid. There's so like the scarcity mindset and all that stuff. It's okay to like pull into your little shell for a while and just be like, we can rest for a moment and get our bearings and like love on ourselves, and then move from that space of accepting your home, like you're saying, like accepting who you are and living in that space. Like, I think that's what I would say. Like, just don't expect this to solve anything. Just go and be proud of who you are and move in that. Because if we set an expectation for, I'm going to blow this place up, like I'm going to, you know, and then we're like, I can't even get out of my apartment because I'm sad. A lot of the time, I think we just become like okay with not making the things anymore and not being who we are anymore, and then being sad about that. Coax that little snail you back out and be like, hey, let's just go to karaoke tonight, or hey, let's just write a little part of a song, or find one burrito place and see if we like it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Yep. So I think it's like accepting that we're not the like Gene Kelly gotta dance as soon as we move to a new place and we're just like knocking on the doors, you know. I don't know. Did that make sense?
Yep, totally did.
Yep,
totally. I think that for me, one thing that was really grounding for me is I wrote a list of things, not this specific piece of paper, but
I was going to say, wow.
I happen to
here
have
it is.
Here it is. Yeah.
2-year-old list. No, I wrote a list of things that if I was feeling like Mayday, Mayday, the ship's going down, we don't know, bail out the water, you know, that I could do that would get me back to center. And they're not grand things. It's stuff like, remember that you always have the A&E version of Pride and Prejudice with Jennifer Ely and Colin Firth, and you can always, it's on your phone. You can sit down at any point and you can watch it. And that's going to feel grounding. I mean,
I love that.
Truly, that is one of my things that when I feel out of control, I'm like, oh, but I always have Pride and Prejudice. Like, there's that. I have books that I always come back to. I have books on tape that I've listened to from childhood, like sincerely. Like, There's a Boy in the Girl's Bathroom by Louis Sacker is one that I have listened to my entire life. It's on my phone just in case I ever have a moment that I'm like, okay, I need to come back to this. So like I have a 911 emergency list that I kept really close to me just in case I needed to be like, okay, we're okay. Also, just because you're feeling anxiety or maybe depression or whatever it is, doesn't mean that it was a wrong move.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is stressful, maybe even a good stress, but it is stressful on your body and your mind to pick up and move someplace. It's just the way it is. And so giving yourself a heaping helping of lowered expectations and grace to be like, it, it, it doesn't have, like you were saying, Emily, it doesn't have to be Gene Kelly. Right when we get to a place, we're not slamming into New York, taking it by storm, most likely. Instead, we're going to self-nurture and take things slow. And like you said, maybe success is we're going to find the burrito place today, or we're going to find a place that, or we're going to go and sit by the river, whatever it is. Like, it's okay to have feelings, and it's okay to take things slow and lower your expectations.
Yeah, I expect a lot from myself.
Oh, girl, yeah. I mean, we grew up in
Me too.
evangelical Christianity. We were supposed to take this planet by storm. So,
Right.
like,
Be the good girl, like Amber said. Mm-hmm.
Be the good girl. So, yeah, there's a lot of expectations that we have that were put on us to be a certain thing straight out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I love that when you were talking about Emily, and then you were talking about that too, Carrie, but just the like when you need to kind of cozy up. And I think for me, moving here and being sick for a few months, and then when I finally was feeling healthy, it was like the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And I more thought about that. I heard this from somebody else. It's not original to me, but that whole like, you know, the world, the earth has seasons. We live in a place, all three of us have seasons. We can have a season too. So I did very much part of like saying, being authentic to who I am. Sure doesn't mean, and I'm 48. So I think it's hit me. It didn't hit me at 38. It did, but I had my son at 40. At 39, I was pregnant. So I was like, I feel young and happening. And I still feel, but I don't feel older than that. But just meaning like, I guess two things. I'm talking so circularly, but one, I really told myself like, it's cold out. It's like, this is the season. I don't feel like going out and hitting the town. Like I want to be part of the music industry. And part of me was like, you should be out, like seeing live shows and seeing. And I'm like, I'm 48. It's cold. It's the holidays. I want to be in a comfy, cozy with a blankie and watching movies that make me feel good. And so that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at least when I think about authenticity for myself, or authenticity for an artist, just to kind of, tie it into what I do and what we do, it's who you are and how you feel right now. It's like, it's not, that doesn't mean, if I had to think about like, this is who I am to the core, and this is who I will be as my soul will proceed past me, like that's way too much. It's more like, who am I and how am I feeling right now? And next year, I mean, the core things stay the same, but we'll check in then and see how I'm feeling, or next month or next week. I don't think you have to.
That.
If I had to be locked into something, that's too much.
I love that so much, because I do think that at least that's what the way that I've taken it, as people that are wiser than me, that have been more successful monetarily or notoriety wise, saying that I need to know who I am. It has been so daunting, because then I get really introspective and freak out. Knowing who you are, I love that you said that, Amber, is listening to what you need right now and who you are right now, and acknowledging like your motivation is always toward her.
Yeah.
Instead of having to figure out where she is forever. You're just like, I'm always moving toward that. Like that's my North Star. That feels so good.
you're practicing. You're not ever arriving. You're just, yeah.
Yes. And that's so true, right? But I think as me personally, the people who are like, got it all figured out, this is who do they? I mean, I feel like what you just said, aren't we always practicing? Whether it's in our art and just as human beings, like I always just say, like, nothing stays the same. So why? And also on the flip side, if you were somebody who you were like, well, I do, great, that's amazing. Like, just kind of accepting where you are. I think always practicing and never fully arriving, to me, is like an exciting thing. And also, I'm an anxious bird as well. So I'm like, is it anxiousness? Is it excitement? I think it's a combo, but it seems real to me.
Yeah. I love that so much. Amber, I'm so glad that you were here today with us, and I'm just so grateful to know you and to be able to talk with you and feel like my internet friend is my friend in real life. So thank you for being here with us today.
What a treat! Thank you.
Oh gosh, you got truly. Thank you for having me. It's a great treat for me. And Emily, I should say, as far as getting my feet under me in Colorado, has been so helpful and kind and supportive. And I reached out to her and was like, the space I'm teaching in right now is because she said, oh, well, I taught some at this place, so I just called them and threw your name around. So I'm friends with Emily. And when we just saw each other a few weeks ago, she was so kind to be like, hey, I'm teaching a masterclass here. You come teach it with me. You've been a huge help. I just appreciate it so much.
Oh, of course. It's my pleasure. Honestly, I love connecting people that I think are amazing with other people that are amazing. And there is enough to go around for great people to have things, right? So it's my pleasure to be like, this is my friend and she's really great. You should, so thanks for just a big love fest over here. So before we go, where do people find you? Let's talk about that on the interwebs.
Yes. Oh, so www.evolvevocalstudio.com. And Great. Then I am not TikTok or Instagram famous, but that's very sweet of you.
It's true, but, you guys. She's joking.
Could have fooled me.
No, but you can find me on Instagram at Evolve Vocal Studio, EVOLVE Vocal Studio, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. I don't really do much on Facebook, but anyway, I'm on all the places. Evolve Vocal Studio.
Awesome. Yes, and Amber has a course, and she has subscription-based, like very affordable and insanely valuable, a bunch of really great resources for singers, and so check that stuff out.
That is Thank you again Vocal Pro membership, right?
Yes.
That's your...
Yes.
Okay, so check out Vocal Pro membership on her website.
Thank you, guys.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. All right, well, we'll hopefully just talk to you soon in real life too.
I would love it. And go snails.
Yes,
that's right.
Woo! Honestly, dear listener. Woo!